for some people to hand over, I won't say control, but guidance, right? Because we've been taught and so used to living in the world of ego, right? And we know ego is very controlling and demanding, and it's a very different from soul. I look at it that ego drives you, whether or not it's for your highest good. And you can do the logical, rational mind of, yes, as you said, you should do this, you should do that, one or the other. And logically, it all makes sense. And so you're making decisions based on the logic, rational mind. But that is only working with what you physically know. And as Nancy said before, what you physically experienced in the past or what you're experiencing in the present. It works on past programming, past experiences, ego. But where you start to tune into your soul self and you start to work from intuition and allow and embrace all of this guidance, sometimes there's no logic to why you choose something. Sometimes you choose the scariest path, but something within you is saying, choose it. And when you learn to trust that, it's amazing what opens up for you, and synchronicity flows for you, because you're stepping on a path of unknown. But your soul knows, because your soul has your blueprint. Your soul has the map. It knows exactly why you're here on this earth in this lifetime, what experiences are going to help you to evolve. Ego doesn't, but your soul does. So when we learn to work with our intuition and allow and accept and embrace that our soul is guiding us for our highest good, doesn't always mean you're going to have the most pleasant of experiences, but you're able to navigate through them and evolve because of those experiences.
Yes. Well, it feels like you said it, and it was as though it was being said through you, and that's where the wisdom, when it begins to speak, it's always a part of us, because we have our own special way of speaking, our own special way of walking and talking, and we are those characters. But when we connect with that divine universal source energy, we light up. It's easy. It's just so incredibly easy. And then we sometimes make it hard. But in realizing that, I think the awareness really, really helps. When we're aware that we're doing something.
Yeah, intuition is awareness. And I thank you for saying that I spoke, because I work intuitively and I speak intuitively. So yes, I made a couple of notes and I thought, oh, ego says I'm going to say this about intuition and that. But when I actually come to speak, I don't always know what's coming out my mouth, because it just flows through. And so it always comes from heart and soul, but it comes from a place of awareness, and it just comes together, and it comes. And I've learned to trust that. If I do a speaking engagement, even when I'm teaching or even working with a client, sometimes something will come out my mouth and it'd be like, oh, you realize that wasn't me saying that, because sometimes it's quite direct, but it just comes through. And I know you two both work intuitively too. And it's not that it's a gift, it's that you've opened and you've allowed your intuition to guide you. And everybody has intuition innate within them. And it's just perhaps that, and I know that was one of your questions later, why is it not working? So I'll leave that for later. But when you do open to living your life and trusting your intuition, yes, it is easy flow living. And you will always, as I said, be guided on your journey for your highest good. Always.
Well, and like you had said earlier, before I hit the live button, you had said earlier how sometimes we will go into those places that are dark, that are frightening, that may not seem as though it would be the natural place to choose, but it is where our soul is longing to go so that we can grow into the greatness that is waiting for us.
Mm-hmm. It's all part of evolution. I can remember standing in my kitchen, and whatever the experience was, it wasn't a very pleasant experience. And I know I've chosen it. And I remember just like, why would I choose this? This feels horrible. This is this. It's like, why would I choose this? So then that's always a trigger for me, a little, okay, go do some self journey. Go within, go ask the questions, and go listen to your soul, and you'll get an understanding, a deep understanding of this is showing up because, so, and you get more insights and answers. Yeah.
I often recommend 3 days grace before making a major life change, a life direction, before completely losing control of your emotions. Take 3 days to allow the experience to happen before you necessarily ducktail and run. And that's definitely not if you're in a critical incident.
Yeah.
That's very, very different. But if all of a sudden you're realizing that your work environment, for example, you're like, this is not what I signed up for. You may think, I was looking for a job when I got this job, but take some time to really digest and feel into what it is that's bothering you, and then find what it is that you do want, and really, really play with it. Play, much more play.
There's more play. And when you're looking at what do you want, that's where many people start with the list. What do I want? What do I not want? And one way to see if it's your truth is actually to read out aloud those statements and then tune in to how that feels for you. Because sometimes, just sometimes, it might be, we're doing the logical, rational mind and weighing up our odds and that. And then sometimes it is possible out of the blue. And I'll give you an example. I sold real estate when I lived in Ontario. And clients would come with the list of what they want in a house, what they don't want. And so I'd find listings trying to fit their rational list because that's what they want. And I'd show them houses. And then it'd be like, no. I said, but you wanted this. Well, no, I don't like that one. But I still want that, but I don't like this one. Okay. And then sometimes I'd throw in something they haven't asked for, or just show them a completely different house. And they walk in. And as soon as they step inside the door, they go, this is it. And I'll say, but it doesn't have this. And that's okay. This is it. And that's when their intuition has kicked in and their truth has kicked in. They felt it in that moment. So sometimes, and it's a combination of when do we do the rational and sit with it, as you said, give yourself 3 days grace and sit with it. And when does intuition kick in? We don't always know when it's going to kick in. It surprises us. It's there. And if everything is aligned, it'll just jump in. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you just pushed all that aside because you have this really strong urge or this strong feeling or strong connection to something, whether it be a house, whether it be something, a job, whether it be a relationship. There's just something. And logic and rationale often goes out the window. With intuition, it's something that you have an inner knowing and a trust in that inner knowing, but you can't always rationalize it. There's no logic to it. You just feel that this is it and this is what I'm doing because inside it just feels right and that's what I'm going to do. And sometimes ego will pop up and challenge you, and then sometimes it's like, no, it's such a strong motivation or drive that's coming from within you, and that you do it regardless of what ego is saying, regardless of the list you made. You just do it. And sometimes it's something you've never even thought of because it's coming from that field of consciousness. It's coming from source. It's not coming from past experiences or from the head, the mind of memory and logic and rationality. It's coming from beyond the physical. It's intuitively coming in. Our thoughts are outside our body. People think our thoughts are in our head, and they're not. What we hear in our head is our interpretation of the thoughts. It's transferred into a language we can understand of words, but thoughts are actually in the thought field, same as our emotions are in the emotional field around us, right? And that awareness comes in, and then emotions are translated into feelings. So we get a physical sense, so to help us determine the different thoughts and emotions. And then ego judges them. Are they good thoughts? Are they bad thoughts? Are they happy emotions? Are they sad emotions? And ego gets involved, right?
It's so
It's an
true.
interesting
So
world to
true.
live in. Yeah.
Well, and then when we are experiencing the next thing that's coming along, like what you had just said to me, all of a sudden I remembered something that I had just seen yesterday with Gabor Mate, and he was talking about how the brain in the head and the stomach, there's actually more messages that come from the stomach to the brain, much, much more than the brain to the stomach. But yet that's not what we think. We think that this brain inside of us tells us so much, but our gut has such incredible power, as well as that inner sight,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
sometimes hard to describe.
Yeah. Think of your head as the computer, and think of your intuition and awareness as the internet, right? It's all out there. Information, everything's all out there. But you are the conduit that brings that into the physical. So it's just like opening up to that wide, not wild, well, it is wild sometimes, universe, to bring that information and knowledge and awareness in. You wanted a wild ride in Disney. Hey, life's a wild ride. You live in Disney. It's
Well,
up
and
and
that's where it is. That's where it is. It was a beautiful question that we were talking about Disneyland. And I had said that one day I would like to be able to have a Disney day, that perfect day where everything turns out the way that I want it to be. And Hazel asked me, well, what would that day look like? And I was just like, mom, right? Because I don't have that clear picture of that in my mind. So how do I know when it's happening?
You
Wow.
won't. You won't.
Yeah.
And you'll keep wishing and wishing and wishing. And that's a really good scenario. And thanks for sharing that, because that's so true of a lot of people who are wanting and wishing or searching. And the more you keep doing that, you continue to do that. And so instead of searching and seeking, it's like, I'm going within for solutions and answers, or I'm going in to get clarity of what does that look and feel like for me, so that I can recognize, hey, I'm already having a Disney day. Every day's a Disney day. How would you know? But if you have that clarity of what it looks and feels like for you, in that vision, and I see you put the question out, and I know that's leading a good segue into that vision, because how do we see intuitively?
Well, and I mean, I'm already beginning to play with that whole idea, because I know exactly now, going into my day tomorrow, when people are behaving in a way that's less than what I would necessarily choose for people to be that I'm spending the most amount of time with, I'm going to see Dumbo and Pluto and
you're gonna see
so
them
many
all.
characters, right? Like, oh my God, right? Like this,
Goofy.
I'm like, oh,
You
Goofy,
wanted
right? Like,
Disney.
and
Get
Cruella
started.
DeVille.
Yeah.
Oh my God, right? Like I'm just like, I'm so much more excited about my day, because as I'm winding down from my administrative career to going into a level and layer where I am my own keeper. There's a beautiful book. It's by P. Cole, and I am my sister's keeper, but me being my own sister, whereby I'm the one that's deciding for me, myself, and I, the three amigos, what it is that I enjoy doing the most and how I can most serve all of the expansiveness of our world as it's being. And it's not
Yeah.
laid out in stone. It's kind of
No,
scary.
no. Well, it's scary. I would like to think it's exciting, because it's embracing
Yes.
the unknown. And it's like, if you are living to your passion and purpose, if you are enjoying, like, then you are being you. You are being. We're here to be to live, love, and be happy. It's like it's not a difficult task that we're here for. We make it complicated, and so ultimately we're evolving to this. Living in bliss, living, I mean, however you want to word it, right? We're evolving to live life in easy flow, where life is synchronistic, because we have this clear vision. We're not getting caught up in ego. We're not getting caught up in the drama. And we're able to recognize our messages, our signs, and we're able to interpret them, and we're able to use that guidance and trust that guidance to keep us on this beautiful path of where we're going, because it is. I was going to say a rainbow road to the pot of gold, but it is our journey to happiness. I mean, if you're happy today, great. If you're not happy, then I would start looking at why are you choosing to live in a not happy day. And partly some of that is because you don't really know what brings you joy, and you're so focused on the problems that you're missing out on so much in life. And that's why we have to help people make a shift, and shifting from that ego, shifting into intuition, and learning to trust that unknown, learning to trust that whatever shows up is exactly what we need to experience in this moment. We talked before we started about all of us kind of feeling this nothingness, or we don't have a to-do list, or we've just simply been living each day and enjoying each day. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
What is wrong with that? And yet there's people say,
It's
well, no, you should
absolutely
do this.
wonderful.
It is. Life is so
Yeah,
much
it really
easier.
is.
It's calm.
Mhm.
You can recognize when things pop up. Oh, yeah, you can see them easily because they're not caught up in the whirlwind, and you're trying to distinguish what's a message, what's this. It's very simple. It's a simplistic life, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. When we take
It
away that
truly is.
expectation from ego, right? We take away
Yeah.
those limited beliefs, the past programming, all of that. We know what's unfolding right now as we transition to this 5D living. 5D living is all about living in flow, easy flow living, living a synchronistic life, trusting your intuition, knowing your truth, knowing who you are, and fully embracing who you are. And like in your book, Daphne, you do you. I'll do me, you do you, because we're all different. Nancy's going to do Nancy, all right? But how do you know who that is? If you don't have those conversations with yourself, if you don't go in and open that conversation with your soul, how do you know who that is? And again, going back to Disney, how would you recognize yourself if you don't know who you are? How can you be true to yourself if you don't know who that true self is? Who's your authentic self? Who are you? So there's lots of questions always come up, and that's part of the journey we're on, is simply to get to know ourselves from the inside out, right? Because we know what's happening on the inside is showing up on the outside. You asked, how can we see intuitively? There are so many ways to see. We talk about the third eye. We talk about our clairs and our extrasensory perception, and they are an extension of our physical, right? We can see the invisible. We can hear the invisible. And it might only be made known to us, but we're experiencing that. Your clairs, people talk about your sixth sense, and sometimes intuition is lumped in with that. But intuition is its own thing. Your clairs is that extrasensory perception, the heightened awareness. And sometimes people see beyond the physical. They'll see spirits, they'll see guides. Not everybody can. Some people have an extra sense of smell. And if there's a guide present, or if something is, they'll get a smell. And so for each person, it's learning to read your own language of your clairs. What does that mean to you? Because it has totally different meaning to somebody else. So understanding your clairs is important. My strongest one is claircognizance. It's a knowing. I'm not necessarily a seer. When I learned color therapy, I wanted to see colors. And I got told, no, that's not your brilliance. And I was very disappointed. I thought, well, I want to see color because I teach color.
It is. It's funny. It's very, very funny. I know because Daphne, you'll talk about your experience when you came back from being bathed in the rainbow light. Is that the correct term?
You know what? People can use whatever term they like, but yes, when I was on the other side, when I was in my coma here on Earth, and I was on the other side for 18 days, being bathed in the rainbow colors by the beloved Rainbow Council, they helped me to unlearn all the limiting beliefs that I'd learned in my first 15 years of life.
Yeah.
So I came back and like Hazel, I somebody asked me about the what Claire am I, and I kind of chuckle and I say, well, I'm kind of all the Claires.
Yeah.
I don't distinctive, like I don't say that I'm clairaudient or I'm claircognizant or I'm clair, you know, I just say I just know things.
Yes.
But I don't go around telling people that I know things. I just know things. Like somebody will ask me a question and an answer will just come to me,
Absolutely.
you know, and I'm trusting more and more. I mean, perfect example, Nancy, is the other day, I think I told you about this, how my son Colton had misplaced his necklace that I had made for him that he loves so much. And he had misplaced it for 3 months. And I heard, so for me, I hear things. And I heard, tell him to look in his bag. So I told him to look in his bag. And he said, well, I did, Mom. I said, look again. He said, I did. I said, dump everything out. He said, I did. I said, just humor me. Just humor me. So he went and he unzipped the top thing on his bag, and his necklace was right there. And I looked at him and I said, are you ever going to doubt your mother again?
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I shouldn't say absolutely right. There is truth in what you say, because when we talk about right and wrong, then it takes us back in evil. But there's truth in what you say, in absolute truth. It's getting away from the labels. I am this, I am that, and from the label perspective. And I am all encompassing. I am, full stop, right? And it's your intuition helps you shift into that way of being and that state of being, because you're always checking in and tuning in with your soul self and staying true to yourself. And it doesn't matter regardless of labels. And that's why when we say we can see intuitively, we can become the observer and see life through the observer's eyes. And we know and trust that whatever is showing up in the external world is giving us messages and intuitively showing us what to look at within ourselves. And so when you ask, how do we see intuitively? One of my answers was the mirror, right? What is showing up in front of you? Because it's showing up externally so that you can see it and observe it. We can't always see ourselves, but we can very easily see what's happening on the outside. And that really is that reflection of whatever we are projecting from our internal. So if you think of your head as the movie camera and projecting all your thoughts and emotions and everything outwards, it's showing up in the outside world. The outside world is just the movie screen. And so it makes it easier for us to start getting those clues and messages. So, you know, signs and messages, they come in many forms. But to see through things, you mentioned about introspection and reflection, right? That is seeing beyond the physical, because you're seeing understanding. It's not a physical thing, it's an awareness. You're seeing with compassion. That's not it shows up in types of behavior, but to be compassionate comes from within. It's not a physical thing. It's your state of being and how you approach things. And you're coming from heart and soul and that's what creates the compassion, because we're being guided by soul. We're not being driven by ego. Ego will be judging everybody. And we're saying, no, step aside. Yeah.
And that's where I can say I'm very.
Go ahead.
No, go down.
That's where I can say I'm very blessed to, and you know, people will laugh when I say that, but I am blessed to have experienced what I've experienced in my life of coming back from that near fatal car accident. because had I not gone through that, and had I not been blessed to release all the limiting beliefs that I'd learned in the first 15 years of my life, I mean, medically speaking, I wasn't supposed to live. And I did.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would have believed what the doctors was telling me, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Absolutely.
But intuitively, I knew, and my family knew, that I was supposed to be here, and they believed in me. And so they projected that for me so that I could come back. And I mean, I'm a little bit, unique, but that's okay.
Everybody is. Everybody is. Everyone has their quirks. Everyone has their idiosyncrasies. That's what helps us recognize each other. If we were all exactly the same, we'd be in the zombie land and the computer land, right?
Yeah.
But that's what makes us human and unique. We all have our mission and a sole purpose, and it's different for each of us. And whatever it's based on, we chose to be here in this lifetime. We chose to experience or to learn something. But in order to learn it, then you have to have an experience. We don't know what that experience is going to be. It could be pleasant. It could be very unpleasant. But that experience, I went through a cancer diagnosis, but I am thankful for that because for 3 months I did so much self-journey and really got to know a lot about myself. And as you did, Daphne, you released a lot, got rid of a lot of labels, closed a lot of chapters in my life, and changed the chemistry in my body. And at the end, it was like, well, you're at the least risk possible now, right? Gone. I got great results. But not everybody has that conviction or trust. And I think that's where trust comes in. We have, when we learn to trust that, then it doesn't matter what shows up. We can navigate it. We'll get our guidance. We'll get our assistance. We'll navigate it. And so when you're open to that, you're not afraid of it. And if you're afraid, then you invite resistance in. You're resisting it. So it's a very different dynamic and a very different experience than if you're trusting your intuition and trusting your soul to guide you and living from heart and soul. Two very different experiences. All right. And the choice is each person's to make. All right. That's trusting your intuition, easy flow living. Which one? Easy flow living? Ego, resistance, judgments. It's a very different world. Very different world. Yeah.
Truly is. It truly is. And you talk about the different worlds, and it's as similar as choosing the channels that we will watch television, choosing the friendships that we will spend our time with, choosing the experiences. Because if we keep on repeating the same things about our lives and complaining about it, then that's what we're going to continually keep on receiving. That's what's going to show up for us in our world. And I know that from my own personal experience. I can speak to my experience. I can observe others, but the experience that I can speak to is my own.
Yeah.
I
Can
truly
we
can speak to my own.
Daphne's excited.
Well, I'm just thinking of our conversation that we had earlier today, Nancy, about how you had that some person come to you and think, how could you be so happy? And then we talked about how when we first met and how you were wondering how I could be so happy because you weren't so happy at the time. And then through the years, you have done things, gone within for yourself to define your happiness. And now, and I was teasing you that you're that happy person now too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
Well,
true
I
story.
remember when I was first learning about intuition and Reiki with Hazel, and she wanted me to tell her what was in this brown paper bag, and I couldn't open up the bag, and I was just about I'm like, you've got to be kidding! Like, how could I know what is in this bag? And I fought and fought and fought with my mind because I'm like, okay, my mind's going to tell me it's going to show up like this. And it didn't show up like I expected it to.
Because you're
And,
in,
And
you're
then
in
when
here.
yeah, I was stuck in here. Oh, I was so stuck in here. I mean, that's when I was struggling with my migraines and I was so stuck in my mind. Oh, I was arguing with reality every minute of every day.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
and Hazel, you talked about, creating the realities that we choose, right? And through the work that I've done in my life, like speaking from my experience, people ask me how I am. And I smile and I say, well, I am blessed, grateful, and open to always be in the right place at the right time to cosmically attract magical manifestations into my life. As I share my gifts that only I'm uniquely qualified to share. People look at me like, what? I'm like, hey, this is my
You
work.
asked. A great answer. Because you are living your life synchronously and magically, and because you have tuned in to your intuition, you've allowed that to be your guide, you've allowed your soul to guide you, you've embraced that path. And when you do, you're in that frequency and vibration that attracts, you magnetize, you attract. Life happens in the and I know you ladies are aware that the four levels of consciousness, where the first one is victim mode, right? When love happens to me, and very low vibe, and you're blaming everything. It's happening to me. It's not my fault. I have no control. And then you start to become aware, and you start to realize, oh, I do contribute to that. And so you start then to make steps to input and to live life by you, and you change that. So you transition through, and then you get to a phase in your life where everything just flows through you, and that is a wonderful place to be. And then ultimately it is as me. I am me. That was my freedom 55. I am me. I am free to be me. If you like me, fine. If you don't, people no longer define me. People no longer control me. And it's such a liberating feeling. And I know both you ladies have experienced that. It's like, no, I'm living my life on my terms. Right? I'm being me unapologetically. This is who I am. And I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to not talk about things I'm passionate about just because you don't understand it. It might change the conversation, and I might not say too much because it's just going over your head anyway. But it doesn't define me, and it doesn't stop me being me. And I know you ladies have experienced that's the liberation, that's the freedom that comes with trusting your intuition and living with your soul guiding you and not ego driving you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you enter a place of I was for many, many years a helper, and I was a very good helper. I was very good at helping people. I was very good at doing things to make your life easier. I did that exceptionally well. And then I became very tired.
Yeah.
And then I became very overwhelmed. I became very bitter and resentful, and the list kept on going. I had to step into a different place of being. And I love how the things that happened along the way brought me there. All the bits of the shit show that showed up, like the shitty shit show, the terrible experiences in my life. And they were very difficult. They were defining moments. And now to be in a place of support, it feels much more like that mother goose in the nursery rhymes. Just like, come on, we can go this way. And it's like, oh, look, there goes one. Huh, going off on his own. All right. Because the ducks in the row concept, it's some of them are pigeons.
It is.
Yeah. And I like that way of being now. I really, truly do. And then I notice when I'm going back into that other way of being, where
Yeah.
I want to stomp my feet and have a little bit of a temper tantrum, and I do.
And that's awareness in being aware of your current state of being. Be aware of who you're being without the judgment, because sometimes that will pop up, and it's not to say because we're on this journey that we'll never be angry, we'll never be resentful, we'll never be jealous. It will pop up, but the difference being now is we can recognize it for what it is, and we don't take it on. We can experience it and move through it. Whereas through ego, we attach to those, and it then manifests and it builds up and changes the chemistry in our body, which we know then creates illness in the body. So you both have alluded to the fact that all these experiences you had, even though some were unpleasant and some were shitty, they have helped to sculpt who you are today, which are these beautiful souls sharing their wisdom from their own experiences. And that's how you inspire others. That becomes your legacy, how it's the ripple effect of whatever you do, even if it's a day where you just go have coffee with someone, we're always influencing each other. We're both the student and teachers of each other for ourselves, right? So it's that, as my niece would call it, give and gain, all right? You're giving, but you're also gaining. It's an interaction that is a blessing for everybody, even though some might not see it as a blessing in that moment, but it truly is. It's that wonderful synchronistic or synergy between people that's taking place and helping each one of us to evolve. And so on those days where you think you're doing nothing, just having coffee with someone, that's a very important coffee meeting. That's a very important moment because there's two people interacting and sharing a moment together. That's magical, and that is very powerful. All right.
It's exceptionally powerful. And the more that we enjoy the beautiful gift of the present moment with a person, the more that we may become less likely to want to numb and escape from the reality of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your question on the screen is saying what's blocking us. We've talked about ego. You've both mentioned past experiences, old beliefs, old programming, old habits. All of those prevent your intuition. It could be that you're not willing to be open, that you're not willing to step onto that pathway because you're very comfortable where you are. And so it could be, well, I don't know that. And so there's a reluctance or a resistance to open up to the intuition. It could be driven by fear, a fear of being different and people not accepting you, especially as some of us are the first in our families to step onto this path. And at first, people really don't understand what we're doing and who we're becoming. And it's like, well, is that foo-foo stuff you do? And I say, nothing foo-foo about this stuff. It's all about self-awareness. And that has guided me to teach to take a very practical approach and an everyday approach. And in helping individuals to understand what we have come to learn and understand, and to share with them that it's a wonderful path to be on, and it's nothing to be feared. It could be that people are ignoring messages. Here's a funny one: we ask the messages, and we get them, and then we'll come back and we'll ask the same question. I've looked at journals and I've asked the same question, different periods of time. It's like, well, I got an answer, and it's like, and I've asked it again, and I got an answer. And that's why, that's what blocks us, is we don't take action. We get the answers.
Oh my gosh, it's like the tarot cards or the oracle cards, and you're shuffling them, and okay, and I want an answer, and then a card comes out, you're like, no, not that one, and you shuffle it again, and then that same card comes out, you're like, no, I didn't want that one, right? And it's that repetitiveness. I've done that with people where I've read their cards, and I'll do like the 7 card spread with the tarot, so that's quite a few cards coming out, and like, nah, I don't like that one. I'm like, okay, well, let's get more clear about your question. Inside of you, let's get really, really clear. And I'll shuffle them again, and I'll lay them out, and I'm like, same cards.
Yeah. Oh no, it's incredible.
So,
if you're meant to get the message, you'll get it. If you ignore it or don't recognize it, and that's sometimes you just don't recognize that was what it was saying. And so it's important when we practice and exercise this awareness and practice tuning into our intuition is to be open to what shows up, But then to look at that and see those messages. I had a very direct one. Couldn't have been. I asked for my messages to come through with clarity and in a way that I will understand them. Right? Yes, I see. Our body is a conduit for messages, and we sense the messages. Absolutely, our body knows our truth and can recognize our truth, and it sends those messages and experiences those messages. Just to go back to ignoring the messages, I got a very clear one, and I ignored it, and it wasn't till the end of the day. And something happened at the end of the day, and I went, oh, and I reflected in the morning. I had this experience. It was as bright and clear as could be. It was absolutely, it's like, but it did not register. And it only registered at the end of the day. And I thought, well, great. We ask for messages, we ask for clear messages. And when we get them, sometimes they still don't register. So if anyone is practicing, so here's a little tip, is to ask to get a clear message that you will understand. For me, for some people, and at first, for me, it was like, is it my ego voice or is it my soul voice? And so you have to learn to discern the difference, right? I don't.
I have a perfect example. Back years ago when I was working at the bank, I got sick. Like you're talking, Hazel, how, our body with the stress and dis-ease that our body faces, I got sick. And I mean, I got really sick. Like this is long before anything ever happened. But I was sick. I mean, I was real so I was like, okay, great. I'm going to stay home. I can get this and this and this and this and this done. Okay. When you're sick, you're supposed to stay home and rest, right? Well, I didn't do that. I got this, and this done. And then I was on my way to pick up my son from daycare. And I pulled up to an intersection and I seen the light change yellow. So I was looking to make sure the traffic had stopped the other way. And then I went to turn left and a school bus ran a yellow light. And I jumped out of my vehicle and I'm like, seriously? I mean, what I have learned from my experience is if I ask for a message and I don't listen to the answer, the universe drops a proverbial hammer on my head.
Yeah. And that's ultimately what can happen, right? You don't get it, so it comes bigger and louder until maybe for me it was a car accident, my first major, right? That shut me down and switched me off, and I went to that nothingness, complete nothingness, and I didn't have a thought go through my head. I know what it's like to be in the void and be in silence, because not one thought went through my head. And then eventually I'd get one little thought that went, oh, it's nice outside. And I went back to sleep. So it's interesting to experience that, right? So now it's not only do I want my message is clear and a way I understand, but to bring the awareness or the motivation or the insight to take action on those messages, whatever it is I need to do, if it's to journal, if it's to change a thought process or a belief, whatever it is, right? Because it's different for all of us and it's different for whatever the situation is. But anyone starting out trying to build their intuition and to learn how to tune into it, it will come in many forms. And it's like you will discover what works best for you. But you'll only discover that if you keep working with it.
I'd like to add to that too. Ask it to come with ease and grace.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when I asked, it was like bang.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing that in there.
I have that as a mantra.
I
have that as a mantra. Like I have several mantras that are like 24/7, and so it's like that's for me. That's my, we'll call it my belief system, that life happens synchronistically and everything comes through me with ease and grace, right? That for me is definitely. So I sometimes forget to say that, because you're absolutely right. And thanks for the reminder, to come with ease and grace in a way you'll understand it, in a way that you can action it, and with ease and grace, absolutely. So that's part of your easy flow living. Yours is coming through easily now, right? It's effortlessly. right, happening.
It becomes much more so. And when we put our wishes and our intentions into the vortex, into that place where things become, we can change our minds. We can say that it's completely feasible, possible, and doable to be able to, like, okay, I know yesterday we were talking and I said that I wanted everything to show up for my highest good and for everybody involved. Okay, I'm going to take out a few of the everybody's involved for my highest good, because we have lived a life often whereby we want everything to be great for everybody, and my greatness may not feel good for you, and that may be a little bit uncomfortable for you to be in the shifting of my reality.
But it's also recognizing and allowing everybody else to live their lives and to
Yeah.
experience what they are meant to experience. So you might be in your happy bubble because things are working well and you're living this fluid, very fluid life, right? This easy flow living. Somebody else may have this shitty experience to go through. And yes, you are interacting as a part. And remember when everybody first learns a modality, and then we have that term runaway healer, because everybody wants to fix everybody and like make them better, because we know we can, because we can do energy work and we can do this and we have crystals and we have this and we do reflex. All those modalities are wonderful and they do help and assist. But if it's not their journey to be healed in this moment, they won't be.
Mm-hmm.
We have to accept and embrace they're on their life path, and we don't know what their life path is.
Yeah.
Same as they don't know what's on our life path.
Yeah, and that's
Right?
something that, that's something that I had to teach myself too. You know, who do I think I am to change your journey? You know, I'm here
Absolutely.
to walk with you on your journey, but it's not my job to change your journey. That's just my.
That's truth. That's truth. And it's nobody's job. It's our own responsibility to create that awareness of our journey. It's our own responsibility to tune into our intuition. It's our own responsibility to become aware of ego and soul and all the rest of the things that we've been talking about. It's such a huge topic, right? But self-awareness and conscious awareness, it is each and everybody's own responsibility. It is their life. It is their journey. Their actions have their consequences, right? That's in that 3D world. Every action has a consequence. And it's not for us to say, you should do this or you should do that. Or if you do this, you'll be better. If in a scenario, if you healed somebody of something and they were meant to learn something on that journey, you've just deprived them of that lesson, experience, that evolution, because you've taken the problem away, you fix them. And so
Absolutely.
who will do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I totally hear both of you on that. And it is at first everyone's excited, do this and you'll be better, do this, and we all get excited because we want to share what we have come to learn and understand for ourselves. But if we focus on ourselves, here's something really, is there really anybody else? Because everyone's an aspect of us. In my world, you're all out there, but you're an aspect of me. In your world, we're all out here and we're an aspect of you. So who is there really? Just you and all these aspects of you. So if you work on yourself, that ripple effect changes your outside world.
Well, and like I've said to Nancy before, people come to me and say, "Can you heal me?" And I've come to a point now where I just say, "No, I can't heal you. I healed me, but I can be the conduit to channel energies to help you with what you're needing, but I can't heal you."
No, I can work with you. I can walk with you. I can share what I've come to learn and understand, and give you share some of my wisdom. Share what knowledge I've learned along the way to help you to better understand yourself, so that you can better help yourself. Right? It is
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we are all here on this journey of sharing, right? Sharing what we have learned through our own experiences, and whether they be shitty or whether they be, exponential joy, right? They're all experiences. We're not going to label
And
them.
it's so true. It's
Yeah.
so very, very true. And as we go through the different experiences of being a woman, a man, a human being, we are sometimes, it feels like we're forced, but we're never forced. But it feels like sometimes the difficult challenges that come through, the empty nest syndrome, when all of our children leave, and then all of a sudden it's that awful, after after everything I've done for you, and now suddenly you've left me. Well, what did you want me to do, Mom? Stay home like forever? No. And it's all of that, right? Like it's about allowing them to be, you do you, like Daph says, and I'll be here, like, just call me, right? Or I can call you. And it's having a grown-up, adult, mutually respectful relationship. Like,
Mhm.
mutually respectful.
Yeah.
Wow. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we had more of that? So what can I do to have more of that? I can be more of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, simply be more of that which I want. Be.
Mhm.
We're human beings, not human doings.
Yes,
Can't remember
yes,
who
yes.
coined that one, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's a good.
I just,
It is about being, and what is your current state of being? But as you say about the children, when they grow up, rather than like, oh, you're leaving me, it's like, wow, good for you, and it's almost like a celebration because they have learned to become independent and choose for
yes.
themselves. Whereas I've also witnessed on the other side of that, because everything in this duality world, there are children that are still living at home and haven't managed to be self-reliant or self-resilient because they've always had people
Mm-hmm.
there to do things for them. And so in adult life, they're not able to cope, or they're not able to process emotions or situations or experiences as effectively as they could had they learned those skills earlier on in life. So that
It's
it's
one
like,
of the most exciting times to be alive. It truly is
mm,
one of the most exciting times to be alive. I love watching the different characters, the different plays. It's so interesting, and I don't deem one as right or wrong. There's some that don't feel as rainbow and sparkly as others. Um, I struggle with the sense of entitlement. I really struggle with that, but
from what
I
perspective?
just want
You say sense of, what do you mean by that?
that we have the thought, the belief that life shouldn't be like that.
Okay.
My life should be easier after all that I've put into it. That we've a lot of the narrative that I see, like you were talking about Freedom 55, it's that commercial, where we're going to have financial freedom at 55. It'll be different. It'll be
Hey, that didn't
something.
happen to me. That's why I say my Freedom 55 had nothing to do with finances. It was the understanding
Yeah.
that I am free to be me. All right. Very different perspective than most people look at Freedom 55. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious what your interpretation was of entitlement when you say that. You know me, I challenge.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
oh, you do. You do. I mean, I still remember when I called you witch Hazel way back
You know,
when.
that's okay. My
It
sister
is.
did.
It is.
When I got into, yeah, when I stepped onto this journey, she said, "Oh, you're a real witch, Hazel, now." So okay, fine. But
My
yeah,
children called me Helga, so
yeah. Well, we grew up with Hazel, the medicine, right? And we used witch hazel for everything growing up. So it was actually
Yes,
the,
that's
yeah,
right.
it was good for it
Isn't it
healed.
funny what can happen with names? I
Yeah.
remember the first time I was on the sports field with my son, and a coach yelled out so loud, "Stop being such a Nancy." And I'm like, the hell is that supposed to mean? Stop being such a Nancy.
again, words, how you interpret them is based on your experiences, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now it's Karen.
Karen.
Yeah, we've got the different. Yeah, the Karen. The Karen. I think one of the greatest blessings of this journey that I decided to take, and Daphne so graciously agreed to join in on, is the way that it's expanded in our lives, not just with the people that we've had I mean, reconnecting with people in a different time, space, paradigm, reality, but the expansiveness of the people that we have coming to meet with us every single week. Next week we have, I'm waiting for it to pop up. Come on, button, go. One of my favorite morning listens is my friend Jeanette. I just so love listening to her. It's my special something, and sometimes I won't listen to her for days because my days are busy. But then I'll tune in. I'm like, oh, that was back then, those days. That's what the energy felt like. So interesting. And she will talk about how all of us have the ability to tune in and tap into heaven, or whatever you want to call that other existence. Again, words. I like the word heaven. I've got a pretty picture of that in my mind. So,
Well, we use that term, right? It's heavenly. Has such a nice feeling, right? Oh, that was heavenly. All right. It was wonderful.
mhm. Yeah, heavenly bliss, bliss, joy, beyond joy.
Yeah.
And it is. It's a grand place to
But
be.
that's part of this living heaven on earth, right? And that's part of this 5D, is that we're going to, not going to be, but this is what's transitioning, is, as we've been talking about, right, living in that bliss, right? Creating heaven on earth,
Mhm.
creating your Disney world. That's your heaven on earth. Your Disney day, that's your heavenly day, right? It's wonderful, right? It's a wonderful energy to live in.
Much better to do it now than later. And by
Why
later,
not?
I mean, the
Yeah.
whole Rainbow Bridge thing. I'd like to do it now. Well, I can share
Yeah.
it with the people that I'm here with.
Yeah, it's the first time we've been able to transition and experience that while we're still living on this earth, right? We don't have
Yeah.
to die to experience it. So it's an opportunity. That's why it's exciting times, because who wouldn't want to live in this bliss and love and acceptance and, right, compassion, understanding? Who wouldn't want to be happy every day? Hey. When we were driving last week, just a quick thing to share. We had to wait 5 hours for the ferry, and it kind of got a little bit, type thing. Sat in your car for 5 hours, and all of a sudden a song popped, because I get messages of songs, and this song popped up, and it was one from when I was a kid, and it was a comedian, and it was from Ken Dodd, and it was like, happiness, happiness, the greatest thing that I possess. I thank the Lord that I possess more than my share of happiness. So we just kept on singing it, and it just changed the dynamics in the car. And so all through the week we were away, every now and then my niece would pop up, or I'd pop and go, if we're stuck in a traffic jam, we go, happiness, happiness.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, but it's
Yes.
fun.
And it doesn't change the delay. It
No,
doesn't prevent the delay, but it changes the energy around the delay. It doesn't
absolutely.
prevent the construction
Yeah,
or
you
the
still have fun.
weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to be miserable with
Yeah.
it. So,
No.
right?
No, we most definitely don't.
Yeah,
Every season has its own amount of joy, and some people love some seasons more than others.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What an absolute treat to have you here with us. I am so grateful. So very,
Thank
very
you both.
grateful.
Thank you so both for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share some of my passion and to share some of my experiences or what I've learned along the way. I'm still learning, always learning, and that's part of our growth. I don't profess to know it all, and nobody, we just know what we know, and that's it, right? But it's a wonderful journey. I encourage anyone to start practicing tuning into their intuition, so that they can start experiencing what you two have already started experiencing, is this easy flow living, and trusting your soul, trusting your intuition to guide you, and learn to stop ego driving you. The ego is very important, but allow your soul to guide you. And it will be a wonderful experience, right? A wonderful life. It'll be a Disney life in your terms, Nancy. You can have your Disney day every day.
Absolutely. A Disney day every day. And if you're not sure how to do that, when you see somebody who inspires you, that is available within you as well.
Absolutely. Mirror, mirror.
It's available within you. You just, perhaps a map or a recipe would help.
Yeah. It shows you it's possible. Daphne's showing it's possible, living how she's living every day. What was it you said? I'm just being happy every day and whatever.
People ask me what I'm doing, and I just say I'm doing what makes me happy.
There you go. Brilliant. Brilliant answer.
Yeah.
If only people could find what makes them happy and what brings them joy, then they too could live a happy day.
Try things.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
A note on the door that says, "Do not disturb. I'm busy being happy." That would work.
I like that.
There you go. You were expecting to see that on your post-it note now.
I'll have to make one.
Do not disturb. I'm busy being happy. Yeah.
Bookmarks.
So
we need
that's
bookmarks.
a perfect end note.
Yeah. There you go.
Perfect end note. There we go. Thank you so much, my dear friend. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Oh,
Thank you.
hope our paths cross soon. Yeah. Love you both.
Oh, we will. We will. Thank you. Mwah. Oh, gosh.